Graphs are a great way to give you a visual of how you're doing or how your students are doing in class or whatever you might need the visual of. So here's an example of some assessments that students have taken along with what they received on those assessments. I did do some conditional formatting to align with the STAR test, and so that's why you see the different color coding. On the right, you see a line graph that shows the student how they're doing. One of the things I like about this particular one is it shows the students what they're doing really well at and areas that they are struggling. So for example, the student knows Unit 3, but can look back and say, oh, well, I might need to study Unit 5 a little bit more because I struggled with that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new graph so you can see how that works. So I'm going to highlight the information. I highlighted the assessment, the grade, and I left the date open because it's not really necessary for this particular graph. Over to the right, you see the graph icon or the insert chart icon. You can click on that. And it's going to open up to give you some choices. The first one is the chart type. I have a line chart, but you have different options as well. You can make bar graphs and different things like that. So I'm going to do, since we already have the line chart, let's go ahead and do a bar graph. And then you can customize your bar graph, and you can go down each of these options, and you can customize the different choices that you have here and just color code it to align better with what you're doing. So this one is the chart style, and so it's the background color is white. The chart border is gray. If you want to change the font, you can do that. And go down to chart and axles. So if I want to change the title to a different color, I can do that. And you can make it bold, italic. You can put it in the center of your chart if you want to, however you want to make that happen. And then you still have the font styles. The series here, we can adjust your columns, your fill color. So if I wanted to have each one to be a different color, I can select specific bars and do a fill color for those bars. So when I select it, the first time I select, it'll select all of them. And then if I click one more time, it'll select the individual one. So that's how you can change the colors. The line color is the outline of it. So if we wanted this to be a red outline and I want to make it a little bit thicker, I can do that. So you see here the blue Unit 4 has the red outline. If you want a trend line, those are really helpful for the kids, and I like to make it a little bit thicker so that they can see. You can label it if you want, and you can just continue going down each of these options and making adjustments. And honestly, what I do is if I want something specific, I just play around and try to find the exact choice I need to make in order to make that change. So that's what it looks like to insert a bar graph. I want to come back to the line graph here. I like to have the points, so for each assessment, it's just a little easier for them to read, and you can always change the color of those points if you want. You can make them whatever color you want. And then you have the point shape, and this one says circle, but you can make it different options if you would like to, so that's up to you, whatever your preference is. The data labels is helpful, as are the trend line. I really like the trend line because then as students go through the year, they can tell if they're heading in the right direction and how they might need to adjust that. I also like to make the line thickness of the trend line a little thicker. And so this is what it would look like. And if I change my grades here a little bit, let me change these around. So as I change them, you're going to see the trend line shifting. And so the students can see if they're heading in the right direction or if they need to work on something in particular. So the ability to make those changes and be able to visually see what it's going to look like for the students is really helpful as they go forward. And then as you review, you can always go back and say, okay, look at your chart and where was the area that you struggled with, where did you do well, and that also helps them better understand their strengths and weaknesses. So those are just a couple of ways of creating charts or graphs within Google Sheets, but there are lots of other options, and so you need to just check it out and explore.